Welcome back to Triple Natures, everybody. In this video, we are going to be introducing the nature of reactive versus proactive, which is on pair with the nature of saucer versus platter, and the nature of deferrable versus deadline. As always, it's important to note that every personality has both sides of every nature. Also, how you develop within your personality can make a very big difference in how you express each nature. The words reactive and proactive have something of a negative and positive connotation. To be proactive is a good thing, and to be reactive is normally associated with a negative emotional thing. For the purpose of this nature, though, I want to set aside those connotations as I'm using them in a different context, specifically the context of gaining tasks, and I hope that everyone can see how being reactive or proactive has its ups and downs, and that both are important and necessary as I am going to define them in this video. The nature of reactive means that the 8 personalities on the left are more inclined to begin obtaining tasks from a position of receiving those tasks from somebody else. This doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to just take any task that they're handed, but it does mean that for the most part they want the task to be coming from outside of themselves. This can be done in an extremely formal way, such as from a boss to an employee, or it could be done in a more casual setting, like a friend asking for a favor. It also doesn't necessarily have to be a verbalized request, such as, "Hey, would you please do this for me?" For example, if a mother has a young child and the child is crying because they're hungry or something like that, and they're not yet to the point that they could even ask for something if they needed it, then the simple fact that they are crying and the mother can hear that can fulfill this reactive need because there is a request being made, even though it's not up to the level of intelligence that adults can manage in communication. The way I'm framing this nature so far makes it seem as though to be a reactive personality is to position yourself in a obedience or lower down position. But this isn't quite true. Bosses, for instance, oftentimes have to respond to tasks put upon them by the people that they lead. An employee comes to the manager with a problem. Well, now it's the manager's job to respond to that problem. Thus, to be reactive is not necessarily to be in a lower obedience position. Reactiveness can be done in any position of a company. Reactiveness can also be employed in even entrepreneurial positions, because in a context like that, although you do not have employees beneath you telling you what needs to happen next, coming to you with problems that is, and you also don't have a boss above you giving you direct assignments, you could very well have clients. And if the clients are coming to you with needs because, for instance, you advertised your services and now you have people coming to you asking for those services, well, guess what? That's reactive. Now, of course, being proactive could be better in an entrepreneurial position than reactive, but the point is that reactivity is not necessarily barring you from positions like entrepreneurship or leadership. On the other hand, we have the 8 proactive personalities. These are those who self-assign tasks quite regularly. If they haven't been given anything to do, then they'll pick something and then they'll start working on it. They also have a tendency of not liking it when people give them assignments. Of course, later on in future videos, we'll show how you can still give proactive personalities assignments, because of course, every personality has both sides of every nature, but as a general rule, you'll find more resistance to them just receiving a task as given. An important thing to note here is that you can reframe where tasks are coming from. So what that means is that if you give a proactive personality a task, that person can take the task and then decide, I am going to do this because I decide to, as opposed to I'm going to do this because it was given to me from somebody else. And by that reframe, they can sort of overcome their propensity to resist assigned tasks because now, of course, they've decided to do it. On the flip side, if there is a reactive personality needing to proactively do something that nobody's really ever going to tell them to do, like they're a grown-up and they need to brush their teeth, then they can, for instance, have conversations with appropriate individuals about this task that they need to do, and chances are the person they're talking with is going to say something like, oh yeah, that is a good thing to do. And even though it's not necessarily a full straightforward assignment, it can nevertheless be viewed in that manner, and then the reactive personality will find it easier to do that task. Thus, reframing tasks is very much so something that can be done, and this nature pertains very much so to an internal perceptual basis. When a reactive personality is interacting with other people, because they are of a sort that they are willing to receive tasks, that also means that they are more willing to give tasks as well, because having the natural bias of I am this way, therefore other people are also this way, that naturally undergirds the mentality of every person, it means that a reactive personality will expect others to be open to receiving tasks in a similar way that they are open to being assigned and receiving tasks. If a reactive person comes up to a proactive with this mindset to start giving lots of tasks, well then that can cause a bit of a problem. The proactive person says, why are you doing this? I don't want to be assigned all this stuff. Let me just pick what I'm going to do. I'm going to just do it. You don't have to give me all this stuff. On the flip side, the proactive personality, because they are self-assigning on tasks, they're also very unlikely to give other people tasks because they view it as the other person's responsibility to choose what to do for themselves. It's that same underlying bias of I am this way, so other people must also be this way. So if you have a proactive manager leading reactive individuals, it means that the reactive people might not receive as much direction from the proactive as they need, because the proactive will simply expect them to decide what to do for themselves. If a company has a good mix of reactive and proactive personalities involved, then it means that all sorts of different tasks can be done. There are some tasks that basically have to be assigned, especially ones where multiple people have to do it together. And then there are other things that just crop up that it would be best if people just did them automatically and didn't have to be specifically asked to do it. Thus, a mixture of both reactive and proactive is very valuable. On a smaller scale in an individual life, it's important to know that if you manage to find a balance between your personality's reactiveness and proactiveness, then you can achieve something similar. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on this nature. Feel free to drop a comment. Also, if you want to help me in my research, please reach out. Till next time.